Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our Meet the Candidates for Broward County School Board Seat 9. It is my pleasure to welcome Ms. Debbie Hickson to have a conversation with us. We did invite both individuals to be, Mr. Holness and Ms. Hickson, to be with us today. Mr. Holness has stated that he had another event to go to, so we are going to just have today a conversation with Ms. Debbie Hickson, running for School Board Seat 9. Good evening, Ms. Hickson. Excuse me.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Well, a lot of things are going on in this race coming up to November 3rd, and voting's just about to start this week for absentee ballots. We're going to start right out the gate with you. Tell us why individuals should look at you to be the next School Board Seat 9 representative.
Question. So I am a 32-year veteran teacher in the Broward County system. I started my career off at Blanche Ely High School. I was there for 5 years, and then I transferred to South Broward High School, where I currently am the magnet coordinator. So I've been beyond the classroom teacher. I have been a coach. I have been a mentor to other students, and now I role. So I understand budgeting, I understand transportation, curriculum, and some of those other issues that I know we could do better in the school system. I also understand industry certifications and partnerships with the community, and why it's so important that we partner with our community to make sure that we are educating our students in a way that works for everybody. I was recently endorsed or re-endorsed by the Sun Sentinel, and I did win the primary with 42% of the vote with 5 people in the race, and really very proud of that, and really looking forward to moving into the school board and trying to just make a positive impact for our students and our staff.
So going on with the aspect of the schools and once the election occurs and things happen, this year has been a horrid year in the aspect of COVID. And it's caused a lot of extra costs for the school system and, costs for our communities. And how do you, as a board member, if you were to win, how do you see that affecting the school? And what do you see as one of the major challenges that you may have in dealing with the economic crisis that COVID's brought along with it over these last couple months?
And they're actually still in the middle of a school board meeting right now to try to decide how and when we're going to go back into the schools. So that, by the time I get elected, I would guess that we will be back in school, whether in a hybrid model or full-fledged. But it is going to be a challenge. And so we have to look at that in an honest way and see what kind of economic impacts it's going to have, because we have no idea. Right now, everything is a what if, and you have to see what are the things that are the most necessary, and then what are the things that we can scale back on because they're not impacting student learning directly. And that's what happens a lot. What I see as a teacher in the system is that the board has these great ideas and they spend a lot of money putting things into the schools, but it's not something teachers want. It's not something that they're really familiar with. And so those things are great when you have money that's expendable, but that won't be the case. They're talking about putting $6 million worth of cameras into our schools in the next couple of weeks. And, really we need to be looking at air quality and how we get back into school safely. I know that it will make us state of the art, and that's an amazing aspiration to have, maybe in another year or two, but we need to be looking at what are we funding that directly impacts student learning right now.
Well, and that brings me up to another question, because just a few years back in 2014, we passed an $800 million bond, and it continues to be a controversial issue as we're moving on. Right now, we're in 2020. And as recent as February of this year, district inspectors went on record stating that renovations could push all that money that we had for that bond to work that's not going to be done to 2032. And some cost estimates are also at 40% higher than what were projected. How are you going to address some of the spending and oversight that we've seen or not seen as this bond money is being used?
In the latest report that came out, they actually had it in a school board meeting a couple of weeks ago. The report indicated that a lot of the construction issues that are going on are really staff related, that they're permit issues, they're construction companies that maybe didn't meet the criteria of something. They have something called a reality check for roofs that actually push that construction 2 years behind, because they're making sure that the roofing job would be up to par. So there's a lot of conversations that need to be had, but it seems like a lot of the time issues are really based on staff problems that are happening in the district level. So if that's the case, that should be easy enough to fix. And we need to start finding out why these problems are occurring and then start addressing them and rectifying them so that we can stop continuing to push that timeline back. And the biggest issue right now is roofing. I mean, everything that you read in there is roofing. They are moving along. They said it's very contradictory that because students aren't in the school that they could move a little faster in construction, but they're still behind. So I'd like to see that they should be working harder to get these construction things done quicker, especially in times when people aren't there and they can, do it without having to move people around and inconvenience people.
Well, on the business side, questions have been brought up of how the school district's doing that, instead of what they have done is said, hey, here's all these different schools that need repairs, instead of just going through systematically and just almost going, hey, let's get this one school done to the next school, and then having one group of oversight working with everybody to get each of these schools taken care of. And, we do have a very large school system that may need a little bit of a slower process, but a more exact process, so we're not paying higher prices for some of these things because of the oversight not being there or the wrong oversight being there. Another question came out was McKinsey & Company recently released statistical modeling that forecasts a growth in learning loss as a result of school closures. This learning loss is expected to be the greatest among Black, Hispanic, and low-income students. And as a school board member, what will you do to address learning loss and minimize the long-term impacts on the education of Broward County students? Because we believe as a business community that this learning loss could continue to happen as we continue to go through COVID.
And they have something called the summer slide also, so it's something that they're familiar with. And I think the way that we address that is that we go into the communities and we offer services for students and the families to make sure that we're bringing them up. So tutoring, there could be peer-to-peer tutoring depending on the age level, bringing the community in and asking them to offer their services. The school board actually has addressed this a little bit, something Ask Bria that is live now, and students are able to go on the computer, and it's actually different people in the school district, like the higher up people, that run the tutoring process for them, and it's no charge. And I think we need to continue to do that, and we need to be able to go into libraries, small groups, and work with them. If we bring them, find out what's available in the community, what spaces can we go to, because if we keep just saying it's virtual, that's really part of the problem. So we have to look at how can we safely make spaces where we can work with them one-on-one and bring the community in to help with that, because it's a partnership. We should be doing this together.
Excellent. Let me ask you, just got a couple more questions as we're having this nice conversation. As we're moving forward, one of the things that just occurred about a week and a half ago, the Florida Chamber of Commerce launched a brand new website looking at third grade reading scores, because we believe that third grade reading scores are very important for success, specifically to get individuals out of poverty. And so there's a new website out there done by the business community to check and look at each individual school for those third year reading scores. The business community wants to help. And a lot of times when we come to the table, it seems like the door's shut. And we believe here that we have resources, we definitely have money to be able to impact some of our school systems. And I know for our chamber, the Miramar Pembroke Pines, we're looking at 2 zip codes right now that are the highest poverty rates in the 8 cities that we serve. And we're making a definite effort to do 2 things on a state and a local aspect. One is to get 100% work over the upcoming years for 100% reading scores for our students. On top of that, we believe by doing that aspect, it will help us get to reducing the poverty level by 50%. And so we want to work with our schools to help with that. And I'm going to send you that website. We'll get that over to you, so because it just launched, and I don't even think the superintendent has it yet, but we'll definitely get you a copy of that link to help it out. But it rates each one of our schools with how many students, one, the percentage that don't meet the reading level, but also how many students in each of those individual schools are in poverty. And it's a major piece because many of us, I know in my area, in Pembroke Pines and Miramar, Weston and that, we don't see poverty. So sometimes we don't believe it's here. And with each one of our schools, there is definitely some portion of it. So we do want to partner with you. My last thing is, tell us what you would do different today as a school board member if you were sitting today at that table. What are you going to definitely bring to that table?
There are a couple of main things that I know that I would bring. So I think the sense of urgency for safety in our schools, we are working towards it, but not on the level that I would like to see. I think every school needs to have an emergency operation plan that works for them. It's not something that we can do as a blanket school district because every school has a different situation, different places you would go in different situations. So I think that's something they should work with their law enforcement to be able to do and implement and practice on a, you know, a more regular schedule. And I think that the communication that we have with our school district and our community and even our employees, just as we've seen in the last week, definitely needs improvement. And I watched the school board meeting today, and that's a theme that came up with teachers, with parents, with employees, even with school board members, that we are not communicating as effectively as we could. And even you mentioned it, you know, business people want to help our school district. I'm part of the parent community involvement task force, and every meeting we've had, the business industry has said, we want to help. What can we do to help? In a virtual setting, we want to help. So we have to be partners. We are, you know, we are all part of what makes education work, and we should instead be doing that in a silo. We should be doing that as partners.
Well, Mrs. Hickson, I want to thank you so very much for being here today. Folks, this is about Meet the Candidates for the Broward County School Board Seat 9. It's important that you vote. If you vote early, vote early. But remember, you need to vote by November 3rd for the Broward County School Board Seat 9. It is a very important seat for us to work on. And we need to have the right people for our schools, because that's going to make a major difference in our communities. And Mrs. Hickson, I want to thank you so very much for being with us today.
Thank you. And I forgot. and you can learn more about me. You can volunteer, and more importantly, you can contribute if you would like to do that.
Excellent. Thank you very much, and good luck for this election.
So much. Have a great night. Thanks for inviting me. Bye.